Two retired couples live 3 houses apart on the same quiet street in Florida. Same neighborhood, same retirement year, same generation. Both couples worked for more than 40 years. Both entered retirement with roughly $1.8 million invested. And from the outside, they look almost identical. Couple A just bought a brand new luxury SUV with ventilated seats and a payment larger than most people's rent. There's a boat in the driveway, a country club membership, 3 streaming subscriptions nobody uses. And every month, money quietly leaves their account to help their adult children get back on their feet. Couple B drives a 10-year-old Toyota. They shop at Costco. They split appetizers at restaurants. The husband still wears the same watch he bought before the financial crisis. Most people would assume couple A is wealthier. 20 years from now, one of these couples will still be financially secure. The other will spend their late 80s staring anxiously at shrinking account balances, wondering how the math went wrong. And the terrifying part is, the math didn't go wrong. It worked exactly as expected. Because retirement failure usually doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, comfortably, one unnecessary expense at a time. And tonight, I want to show you the invisible habits that separate retirees who stay wealthy from retirees who slowly run out of money while still looking rich to everyone around them.
Section 1. The Retirement Illusion. There's a dangerous illusion surrounding retirement. People think retirement is a finish line. You work hard, save enough money, reach a magic number, and then everything becomes stable. But retirement is not a finish line. It's a 25 to 35-year financial endurance event, and most people dramatically underestimate how difficult that actually is. Because for the first time in your adult life, your investments are no longer growing quietly in the background while your paycheck supports your lifestyle. Now your investments are the paycheck. Every dollar spent matters differently. Every market crash matters differently. Every financial mistake compounds differently. And yet many retirees spend the first 5 years of retirement doing something strange. They celebrate survival by increasing expenses permanently. That's the trap. The luxury SUV, the RV, the vacation home, the country club, the endless upgrades. After decades of discipline, people finally feel entitled to reward themselves, which emotionally makes complete sense. But mathematically, that's often the exact moment retirement begins quietly failing.
Section 2. The most expensive word in retirement.
There's one phrase that quietly destroys more retirements than almost anything else. We can afford the monthly payment. That sentence has ruined millions of financial futures. Because retirement math does not care about monthly affordability. It cares about long-term sustainability. A retiree doesn't buy a $90,000 SUV. They buy depreciation, insurance, maintenance, registration, higher taxes, and opportunity cost. And opportunity cost is the invisible killer nobody feels immediately. That same $90,000 left invested at 7% becomes roughly $350,000 over 20 years. One purchase, one decision, $250,000 quietly erased from future wealth. And retirees make this mistake constantly because the purchase feels emotionally earned. I worked hard. I deserve this. I'm finally enjoying life. But wealthy retirees understand something uncomfortable. Luxury becomes dangerous when it turns into recurring lifestyle inflation.
Because recurring expenses don't retire when you do. They follow you forever.
Section 3. Why rich retirees look boring. The strange thing about actual wealthy retirees is how normal they look. No designer labels, no flashy cars, no constant upgrades. And honestly, that confuses people. Because modern culture trained us to associate visible consumption with financial success. But the people who stay wealthy longest usually stop caring about appearances entirely. Not because they're cheap, because they understand the emotional trap of status spending. At some point, wealthy retirees realize something liberating. Nobody is paying attention. The neighbors are too busy worrying about their own lives. The strangers at restaurants do not care what car you drove there. And the temporary emotional boost from status purchases fades unbelievably fast. That's why so many wealthy retirees simplify over time. They stop buying things designed mainly to impress people they barely know. And that shift changes everything. Because simplicity lowers financial pressure dramatically. Lower pressure means lower withdrawals. Lower withdrawals mean longer-lasting wealth. Longer-lasting wealth creates freedom. That's the cycle. Section 4. The RV, the boat, and the fantasy purchase. There's a category of retirement spending that almost always sounds better emotionally than it works financially. Fantasy purchases. The RV, the boat, the lake house, the vacation condo. These purchases are usually sold with a dream attached. We'll travel constantly. The grandkids will visit every summer. We'll finally relax. But reality tends to look different. The RV sits parked most of the year. The boat becomes maintenance with cushions. The vacation home quietly turns into a second full-time responsibility. And retirees slowly discover something painful. Owning leisure often creates stress. Storage fees, insurance, maintenance, property taxes, repairs, depreciation. The fantasy was freedom. The reality becomes overhead. Meanwhile, wealthy retirees often choose flexibility instead. They rent the beach house for 1 month, charter the boat for 1 weekend, book the vacation they actually want. No maintenance, no debt, no permanent carrying costs. They buy experiences, not liabilities disguised as lifestyle upgrades. Section 5. The most dangerous years of retirement. The first 5 years of retirement are financially fragile. Most retirees don't realize this, but financial planners have a term called sequence of returns risk, and it's one of the most dangerous forces in retirement. Here's how it works. Imagine 2 retirees with identical portfolios and identical average returns over 25 years. One experiences a market crash early in retirement. The other experiences the same crash much later. The retiree hit early often ends up dramatically worse off. Why? Because early losses combined with withdrawals permanently damage the portfolio's ability to recover. And this becomes catastrophic when retirees increase spending immediately after retiring. That's why wealthy retirees often move slowly at first. They delay major purchases, avoid huge lifestyle upgrades, keep expenses stable. Not because they're afraid to enjoy life, because they understand retirement portfolios are vulnerable early. They protect the foundation first, then spend more confidently later. Most people do the opposite. Section 6. The adult-child money drain. This is the part almost nobody wants to talk about. Many retirees are quietly financing the lifestyles of their adult children. And emotionally, it's understandable. Parents want to help. Housing is expensive. Life feels harder.
Everyone struggles sometimes. But there's a difference between helping occasionally and creating permanent dependency. A monthly transfer that continues for years is not a gift anymore. It becomes a hidden retirement expense. And hidden expenses are dangerous because they feel emotionally justified. Retirees rarely calculate the long-term impact. An extra $1,500 a month doesn't feel catastrophic, until you realize that over 20 years it can drain hundreds of thousands of dollars from a portfolio. That's money no longer compounding, no longer protecting against inflation, no longer supporting healthcare costs later in life. Wealthy retirees tend to help strategically instead. One-time assistance, emergency support, education, down payments. But they avoid building permanent financial obligations into retirement because they understand a difficult truth. You cannot financially rescue everyone without eventually endangering yourself. Section 7. Why small expenses become huge. One subscription doesn't matter. One delivery order doesn't matter. One luxury upgrade doesn't matter. That's how lifestyle inflation hides. Individually, the expenses seem harmless. Collectively, they become enormous, especially in retirement, where time magnifies everything. An extra $500 a month spent unnecessarily during retirement is not just $500. Over decades, it can represent hundreds of thousands of dollars of lost portfolio growth and withdrawals. And wealthy retirees become highly sensitive to recurring expenses, not obsessively frugal, just aware. Awareness changes behavior. Because once someone truly understands what recurring spending costs over 20 or 30 years, many purchases stop feeling worth it. Section 8. The psychology of people who stay wealthy. The retirees who stay wealthy longest usually share one personality trait. They stop trying to prove anything. That shift is incredibly powerful. No need to signal status. No pressure to compete. No emotional spending for validation. And once that pressure disappears, financial decisions become much clearer. They buy what genuinely improves their lives. They ignore what merely looks impressive. That distinction matters enormously, because most expensive purchases lose emotional value very quickly. But financial security keeps creating value forever. Security creates lower stress, better sleep, flexibility, independence, and dignity later in life, which is why wealthy retirees protect it so aggressively. Section 9. The real goal of retirement. Most people misunderstand retirement completely. Retirement is not about maximizing luxury. It's about maximizing freedom for as long as possible. Freedom from financial panic. Freedom from dependence. Freedom from working out of necessity. Freedom from becoming a burden later. And, ironically, the retirees who stay free longest are often the ones who spend the least energy trying to look successful, because appearance and actual security are often opposites. One prioritizes visibility, the other prioritizes sustainability, and sustainability wins over time, every single time. 20 years from now, both couples on that quiet street will still have neighbors, still have memories, still have stories. But one couple will also still have peace, because they understood something most people never fully accept. Retirement wealth is not destroyed by one giant mistake. It's destroyed slowly by hundreds of small decisions that felt harmless in the moment. The luxury SUV, the unused memberships, the recurring upgrades, the permanent financial obligations. And meanwhile, the couple driving the older Toyota quietly kept their freedom. That's the strange thing about wealth. Real wealth rarely looks dramatic. Usually, it looks disciplined, patient, ordinary. And that's why most people miss it completely. Because the people winning financially often look boring while they're winning. But eventually, the math reveals everything. It always does.